In the headlines, Sudanese drivers abandon Nigerian returnees in desert over incomplete payment. National Economic Council suspends removal of fuel subsidy. Police confirms abduction of 3 humanitarian workers. Security guards in Borno State launches manhunt. And on the international scene, renewed air strikes hit Sudan capital as truce enters final hours. Hello and welcome to Trust News Update. I'm Dashan Husseina Usman. Now the news in detail. Efforts to evacuate the Nigerians stranded in Sudan had met another setback as the first batch of 5 buses that left Khartoum on Wednesday abandoned its passengers midway over issues of payment logistics. Videos shared online showed some Nigerians, mostly students, explaining their fresh ordeal. A 400-level student with the International University of Africa, Khartoum, lamented that the 38-hour scheduled journey between Khartoum in Sudan and neighboring Egyptian city of Aswan had encountered a challenge. Reports say the bus drivers were ordered by their company to stop the journey until the balance of their service had been paid. They insisted they were only paid 30% of the agreed charges, with the promise of getting the remaining balance once they got out of the state capital, Khartoum. The student, who was heard speaking in a very disturbing tone, added that the location where they had been abandoned is a desert with no food or water.
Before we started this journey, we have to go on several fighting. Can you imagine that we are stuck in this desert for 5 hours? Like we don't know the situation we have. We don't have water. Our money has finished. Can you imagine? And they said the vehicle drivers, they said they are not moving their bus. They said they are not moving their buses because they don't give them money. Which type of attitude is this one? Look at this place. We are stuck in desert. We don't even have compass. We don't know where we are. We don't know the place we are. Everything has finished. We are done. We don't have anything. We don't have anything. We don't have food. We don't have anything. We don't have compass. Even now, our location. We're in an unknown environment with a very big danger.
We are not even worried about ourselves. We are more worried about our family, friends, the little children and pregnant women out there who are stranded in the desert without food and water. No network to even connect with them. We need help. Please, the government and other powerful bodies should come to our aid. We paid money to the embassy in order to get us a smooth transportation, but we didn't see anything. Our money gone. And no vehicles. We are in a dire situation. We don't sleep, we don't eat, and we're all stranded here. We need help.
Meanwhile, Director General of the Nigerians in Diaspora Commission, Abike Dabiri Erewa, says buses evacuating Nigerians from Sudan have continued their journey. In a tweet, Dabiri said this follows the resolution of issues around payment and logistics as confirmed by the Director General of NEMA. The National Economic Council on Thursday suspended the planned removal of subsidy on petroleum products by the end of President Muhammadu Buhari's administration. The Minister of Finance, Budget and National Planning, Zainab Ahmed, disclosed this while briefing State House correspondents at the end of the NEC meeting presided over by Vice President Yemi Osinbajo at the Presidential Villa in Abuja. According to the minister, NEC concluded in its meeting that it is not a favorable time for the action. She stated that the council deliberated on the matter and resolved that it cannot be removed for now, but it equally agreed on the need to continue the discussion on the matter and the necessary preparatory work in conjunction with states and representatives of the incoming administration. Under the Petroleum Industry Bill signed by President Muhammadu Buhari in August 2021, part of the act does not create room for subsidy. In January 2022, the federal government said it will propose 18 months extension to the National Assembly for the implementation of the Petroleum Industry Act. The Attorney General of the Federation, Abubakar Malami, on Thursday appeared before the House of Representatives Ad Hoc Committee investigating the alleged loss of over $2.4 billion in unremitted oil revenue from the illegal sale of 48 million barrels of crude oil export from 2014 till date. Chairman of the committee, Mark Miller, said the committee obtained reports that Malami received funds from outside the country through the whistleblower policy, but did not remit it to the Federation accounts. The lawmaker also said the Minister of Finance, Budget and National Planning, Zainab Ahmed, approved payments to whistleblowers which were not in accordance with the policy. But appearing before the lawmakers, the minister said disclosing the details of the whistleblowers as requested by the committee violates confidentiality. With regards to the details of accounts into which recoveries were paid, Malami stated that the Central Bank of Nigeria maintained these accounts, not the Office of the Attorney General of the Federation. Malami argued that his office is not a signatory, nor does it manage the accounts. According to him, over $650 million have so far been recovered from different sources, including late head of state General Sani Abacha, former Bayelsa State Governor Dieprie Alamesia, and former Delta State Governor James Ibori. Now on security, the Borno State Police Command has confirmed the abduction of 3 humanitarian workers and 2 security guards in Gamborungala local government area. The 5 staff, according to reports, were kidnapped by ISWAP terrorist group in the early hours of Wednesday at their lodge in Fotoko village to an unknown location. Confirming the incident, Deputy PPRO of Borno Police Command, Nahum Daso, the police, with support of sister security agencies, have launched a manhunt for the abductees to secure their safe release.
People around went there in the early hours to go and check up on them because they were nowhere to be found, and later realized that there was actually nobody in the house, both with the security men, 2 attached to the house. The divisional police officer, according to intel that he has received, the DPO in charge of Gamborungala, that the residents within the place were catered away by some unknown persons. See, he's on top gear together with his top management team to make sure that these incidents would be addressed seriously, because it is very uncommon in Borno State to find incidents or cases of kidnapping, although it may have happened in the past, but this will not be tolerated. Whatever and whoever are perpetrated with such kind of offenses will be dealt with in accordance with the law.
A soldier and 24 other residents of Usa and Takum local government areas of Taraba State are said to have been killed so far in the feud between Kuteb farmers and herders in the state. This is according to the police public relations officer in Taraba State, Abdullahi Usman. He said the military officer was ambushed and killed, while the other 24 persons are of either Kuteb or Fulani extractions. He insisted that at the moment, the major problem halting the return of peace is the claim by the Fulani herdsmen that their cattle are held hostage by the Kuteb farmers and the denial from the other. Attempts to speak to the state chairman of MACBAN proved abortive. However, the president of the Kuteb Yetsgo Association of Nigeria, Emmanuel Okwen, an umbrella body of the Kuteb-speaking tribe in the country, revealed that peace was brokered between them late last year, in which a 14-point resolution was reached and signed. Okwen alleged that the state government failed to prove the needed funds to implement the agreements reached, which gave rise to enemies of progress to renew the attacks. Now moving to politics, the senator representing Kogi West Senatorial District, Smart Adeyemi, a son of former Kogi State Governor Shaibu Abubakar, and 3 others, are demanding the immediate cancellation of the All Progressives Congress primary for the selection of the party's candidate in the forthcoming governorship election. They are also calling on President Muhammadu Buhari, the President-elect Bola Tinubu, his Vice President, and the Arewa Consultative Forum to intervene in order to save democracy in Kogi State. In the suit, they are asking the court to declare as illegal and unlawful the purported direct primary election said to have been conducted by APC, which produced Ahmed Ododo as the governorship candidate of the APC in November this year. Their grouse is on the alleged unlawful selection of Ododo contradicts Section 177 of the 199 Constitution and Section 29 and 84 of the Electoral Act, as well as Article 20 of the APC's Constitution. They also asked the court for an order compelling INEC to reject and refuse recognition of the name of Ahmed Usman Ododo as APC's governorship candidate on the grounds that he emerged from an invalid primary election. Similarly, the aggrieved governorship aspirant also prayed for another order compelling APC to conduct a fresh primary election and to give all aspirants equal opportunity as prescribed by the Electoral Act 2022.
It was a betrayal of those who laid down their lives for the enthronement of democracy in Nigeria. It was satanic, it was unbiblical, it was un-Islamic. For people to be told to contest election, and you bought the form, you went around, you campaign, only for some people to sit at their comfort rooms and offices and came out with concocted results without any election. If we were rigged, we will assume, we will say, okay, we were rigged. But where election never took place, that is a criminal offense. It is unconstitutional, it is immoral, it is unbiblical, it is satanic. For people not to vote and you have allotted figures to them.
Factional leader of the Labour Party, Lamidi Apapa, has said that contrary to reports making the rounds, he has not approached the Presidential Election Petitions Tribunal to withdraw the petition filed by the party's presidential candidate, Peter Obi. Apapa's position on the rather controversial issue was disclosed by the National Working Committee of the Labour Party, loyal to him. In a statement by the faction's publicity secretary, Abayomi Arabambi, addressing the matter, Apapa said the publication accusing him of taking such a step against the party is one laced with deliberate falsehood. On Tuesday, a faction of the embattled chairman of the LP, Julius Abure, raised an alarm that Apapa and his team had gone to the tribunal in Abuja to withdraw Obi's petition challenging the victory of the All Progressives Congress presidential candidate, Bola Tinubu. In reaction, Apapa said Abure has been restrained by the Abuja High Court over confirmed allegations of forgery of court seals and others, saying it is not new that he could engage in cheap blackmail to gain public sympathy in order to cover up his criminal tracks. Apapa challenged Abure to produce a copy of the letter which he or the secretary signed to seek the withdrawal of the petition at the tribunal, adding that he and his team would not be intimidated. The Supreme Court has granted leave to the federal government to bring 9 new grounds of appeal against the release of pro-Biafra agitator Nnamdi Kanu. A 5-member panel led by Justice John Okoro granted the leave on Thursday while ruling on the motion by the counsel to the federal government, Tijani Ghazali. The Apex Court also granted leave to the federal government to include the 9 new grounds as part of its demand or amended notice of appeal dated 28 October 2022. At the resumed hearing, counsel to Nnamdi Kanu, Mike Ozokeme, informed the court of his motions seeking for bail for his client and another seeking for his transfer to the Kuje Correctional Facility to get proper medical attention, citing the failing health at the custody of the Department of State Services. He also prayed for an accelerated hearing of the matter. The court subsequently fixed May 11 for a hearing on the pending motion and the main appeal. You're watching Trust News Update. Coming up after the break. Why prices of fish are skyrocketing at Gerio Fish Lake. Stay with us. Welcome back and thanks for staying with us. You're still watching Trust News Update, a recap of our major stories. You heard that Sudanese drivers abandon Nigerian returnees in desert over incomplete payment. You also heard that National Economic Council suspends removal of fuel subsidy. Moving to other stories, the Ministry of Science, Technology and Innovation says it will work with the senior or national senior citizens towards achieving the mandate for which it was established. Minister of Science, Technology and Innovation, Adeleke Olorunimbe Mamora, gave the assurance while receiving the Director General of the National Senior Citizens Center, Omokaro, who presented the NSCC Strategic Roadmap on Aging 2022 and 2023 with 2022 to 2032 with a partnership proposal with the ministry and its agencies to the minister. Mamora said with the zeal exhibited by the management of the National Senior Citizens Center, a robust partnership for the well-being of senior citizens through mainstreaming of aging and related programs with the ministry and its agencies was doable through research findings and multi-sector partnership that will improve quality of life of older persons. Omokaro said NSCC would collaborate with the Federal Ministry of Science, Technology and Innovation and its agencies to develop a reliable and sustainable database of senior citizens with the view of establishing senior citizens resource centers across the 6 geopolitical zones and develop senior citizens personal information portal. In a statement by the NSCC's head, Corporate Affairs, Communication and Media, Omini Odin, she said the plans are tailored towards the success of NSCC's flagship programs, the Continuing Engagements Bureau program, and NSCC Senior-led Indigenous Crafts and Skills Empowerment programs, among others. For many years, successive Nigerian governments have failed to allot budgets to educational sector based on the globally recommended benchmark for developing nations. In the 2023 budget, the sector got 1.79 trillion naira, representing 8.2% of the appropriation bill, while experts recommended at least 15% allocation to the educational sector in developing countries. With less than 35 days to the inauguration of the president-elect Bola Ahmed Tinubu, Ibrahim Ismail speaks to educationists and students on what the incoming administration should do to the nation's educational sector to move it forward.
According to the United Nations Children Fund, UNICEF, Nigeria has over 10 million out-of-school children, adding that 1 in every 5 of the world's out-of-school children is in Nigeria, and the rot in the country's tertiary education is one of the biggest problems that awaits the administration of the President-elect Bola Tinubu, an area many feel the Buhari administration didn't fare well.
It has never failed, but it has never excelled as far as education is concerned, because Buhari once made a promise that he is going to enhance the budgetary allocation of education. But after that pronouncement in the UN Assembly, but what followed is nothing to write home about, because the promise was not fulfilled.
Many Nigerians are concerned about the incessant strikes by university lecturers, with the most recent spanning over a 7-month period. Hence, Gombe residents want the incoming Tinubu administration to address this and other issues bedeviling the educational sector.
We want Tinubu to focus on the issue of strike that our university facing in Nigeria, to know their problems, to know how the problem will solve.
Abubuwa sun yi tsada da dama ai da bangare karatu. Yanzu wani biyan waye ko ne ko shi sai ana sai.
School fees are getting expensive. Some have dropped out because they can't afford to pay for waye ko ne ko.
Sai ga garin nan neman kuɗin nan in ya dan samu dan abun da yake.
One who works to get the money and pay would not return to the school if he get a job. If the students can be supported, they cannot drop out of school.
But actually the main problem is from the grassroots. So if he can tackle the problem from the grassroots, I'm sure the tertiary, the secondary and the tertiary institution will just pick shape.
In the meantime, educationist Bill Bilkaila asked the incoming president to declare a state of emergency to ensure a total overhaul of the educational sector from primary to tertiary level.
So if the federal government has a complete and correct estimate of the amount of money that is being paid to primary school teachers and secondary school teachers, so it can withhold such amount from the state allocation and continue to pay the primary and secondary school teachers there.
While campaigning ahead of the 2023 elections, President-elect Bola Tinubu had promised to bring reforms to Nigeria's educational sector from the basic to the tertiary level. Whether or not this promise goes beyond political rhetorics remains to be seen. Ibrahim Ismail, Trust TV News, Gombe.
Fish buyers at the Gerio Lake in Yola North local government area have decried the high cost of fish this year compared to previous years. They attributed it to the shortage and high demand from the public. Silas Lawong visited the Gerio Lake and files in this report.
The Gerio Lake only opens once in a year. When open, buyers come from different parts of the country to buy for either family use or commercial purpose. The agility of the lake is unique. Some buyers said despite the high cost of the fish this year in the Gerio Lake, the prices are still cheaper than in the regular market.
Yeah, you know, there's economic changes. So at least a bit, it increased in a small amount. But it is more cheaper here in the market. Anybody that is buying fish in the market, you cannot compare it. Because if you buy in the market for 1,000 in the market, here you may buy 300 naira. So it's more cheaper here. You can see this one is just 3,500. But if it is in the market, you cannot buy it 6,000.
Speaking, I think it's just because of panic buying. People are rushing to come here. I think if it is normal time, preferably you get it even more cheaper in the open market. Yes. It's just because people are rushing, and there are no fishes, and people are rushing. So I think that is what caused the hike in the price.
Abdulrazak Bagobiri is the leader of the fishermen in Gerio. He speaks on what could be the reason for this year's hike in the price of fish.
Fish is very cheap here, except for some people who are bent on spoiling our business. However, I am doing everything as a leader to do away with them. With the help of security agencies here, we are able to arrest a merchant who bought a basket of fish at the rate of 7,500 naira and sold it to a customer 15,000 naira, saying he also bought it at a very exorbitant rate from a fisherman. But we know that is not true.
For many, it is always a time to look up to, as buying in the fish lake is more profitable than anywhere else. Silas Lawan, Trust TV News, Yola.
On the foreign scene, the Sudanese army pounded paramilitaries in the capital Khartoum with airstrikes Thursday, while deadly fighting flared in the Darfur as a fragile U.S.-brokered ceasefire entered its final hours. Ahead of the expiry of a 3-day truce at midnight, the army said late Wednesday it had agreed to talks in neighboring South Sudan on extending it at the initiative of IGAD, the East African Regional Bloc. There have been multiple truce efforts since fighting broke out on April 15 between Sudan's army, led by General Abdel Fattah al-Burhan, and the paramilitary Rapid Support Forces, commanded by his deputy-turned-rival, Mohammed Hamdan Daglo. All have failed. Witnesses say the fighting has continued despite the U.S.-brokered ceasefire that took effect on Tuesday, with warplanes patrolling the skies over the capital's northern suburbs as fighters on the ground exchanged artillery and heavy machine gun fire. The army added that Burhan agreed on Wednesday to the IGAD proposal for talks on extending the truce by a further 72 hours. The RSF's response to the proposal remains unclear. According to Health Ministry figures, at least 512 people have been killed and 4,193 wounded in the fighting, although the real death toll is likely much higher. And finally, in sports, Rivers United have left the country for Dar es Salaam, Tanzania, for the CAF Confederation Cup quarter-final second leg clash against Young Africans. The Pride of Rivers contingent left the Murtala Mohammed International Airport, Lagos, on Thursday afternoon. The Stanley Eguma's side will aim to upturn the 2-0 deficit from the first leg when they take on Young Africans in the second leg at the Benjamin Nkapa Stadium, Dar es Salaam, on Sunday. And with that, we've come to the end of Trust News Update. Don't forget to follow us across all our social media platforms. I'm Darshan Husseina Usman. Thanks for watching.